objects that could be an inspiration for me because they bring back memories and they symbolize people who I met who went through tremendous struggles in order to make it to 300 of the 1,300 or 2,300 miles that they had to travel depending on the point of entry to get to the United States. So this is a shoe, of course. I met 3 men who were traveling from Honduras. It was an 18-year-old, a 23-year-old, and then a man who was about 60. They all met along the way. By the time they came to the center, they had walked 6 weeks without stopping, sleeping in the highlands of Guatemala, freezing. The older man had tremendous sores on his feet and got a new pair of shoes when they were there. They had no plan at that point except to keep walking north. And like I said, if they were going to Arizona, it would have been 2,000 miles. If they'd been going to a place like Nogales on the Mexican border with Texas, it would have been about a little bit more than 1,000 miles. So this reminds me of those 3 men and the determination they showed. And I have to find my other pieces, just a minute. I'll start with this. It's a transgender flag. One of the days, there was 3 women who came into the center to register. There were 2 young women from El Salvador, cisgendered women who were traveling north. They met along the way Fair, who was a transgender woman from Nicaragua. At a bar, as part of a bias attack, she had been cut by a broken bottle from her neck, she said, all the way down to her stomach. She almost died in Nicaragua. Luckily, she got enough medical treatment and then some money from her family to be able to afford buses to the Guatemalan border. She had to sneak over the border then. At that point in time, she met the other 2 women in the shelter, and they managed to get enough money wired up from Nicaragua to take buses up to the border. She told me, my dream is to go to San Francisco, where there's acceptance of people who are LGBTQIA. And she left with the 2 other women. I gave them my Facebook information. I later on heard from the 2 Salvadoran women. They said when they got to Arizona, they went to the Elizabeth Detention Center, and I think there's one of the signs here of somebody who died there. They were put in a freezing cell called La Lluvia for 3 weeks until they said we couldn't take it anymore. They signed themselves off. They couldn't take it anymore. They signed voluntary deportation back to El Salvador. Fair, luckily, because they said he's still there, I was able to reach a group called the Florence Project that was involved in, was organized a lot of the work after the other trans woman we see here in one of the signs who died in detention. And she managed to get political asylum. Luckily, she is in the Bay Area now. This is a good story. Although this is somebody who needed to leave her country. My last story. This is a toy train. This is not, I did not bring this back from Mexico. But I do have to say, one of the things, the train is not being used as much there anymore. A lot of you have heard of La Bestia, which is a freight train that goes from Tapachula in the south. There's a couple routes up through Mexico going up to the border of the United States. It's infamous because of the amount of attacks against that train. Started out with particularly a group called Cetas that would take everybody off the train, shake them down. People who would not get money, they'd throw them into the tracks and kill them. And then the Mexican government started harassing people at the train yards. But occasionally a train would come through. And there was a train with about 100 men who came up. In that train, there was also a family, at that point of 4. It was a mother, actually 5. It was a mother and husband. And it was an 8-year-old named Junior. A baby was being carried in her arms. And a 6-year-old little sister of Junior. There was a 6th member of the family. When they entered into Mexico, they tried to get by the site where there's like a police stop point to register people and turn them back. And the father said, what we have to do in those situations is the police are here, and over here's La Maleza, which is just like brush. And what you have to do is walk back into the brush. If you walk too far, that's where the Cetas are, the gang, where they're going to pick you up. So you have to just walk in the middle. You have to walk that very careful line. Unfortunately, they walked too far over. They were picked up by a gang. They took their 15-year-old daughter. So by the time they came to the shelter, she was gone. They gave a number in Veracruz, a state north of there, and said that they had to ransom her out. They ended up spending 4 days there making phone calls and trying to get money from the United States. They never got the money. They finally said, we have to go. They're hoping when they get north that they'd be able to get their daughter back. But the story's about Junior. So Junior came in when I was registering him, his family, and was just staring me in the face the entire time. And I said, ¿Qué pasa? What's up? And he said, ¿Tú eres un gringo? He said, yes. He said, are you really a gringo? And I said, yes, I am. He said, did you get here on the train or did you walk here? And I just, I started crying. I didn't want to, because it's just that feeling like that is his reality. He's an 8-year-old that had to go that route. And I asked him what the train, I told him I took the plane. He looked at me like, what? And I asked him what the train was like. He said it was bad. That's the only thing he said, it was bad. And my memory, and when I think of these backpacks, what I remember is the morning they left, they were leaving behind their daughter in another Mexican state. No idea how they get their daughter back. Each of them, except that the infant, had a backpack carrying what goods they had, and they were walking from there. And in my imagination, they were walking for months. And this is when our president at that time said that these people want to come here because they think the United States is Disneyland. My dream while I was there is that we could take that man, put him in that shelter, give him a backpack, and say, make it home, you have no lifeline, and see if he could make it here and see if he would understand the reason people are walking north. So, when we think of these kind of stories, and what I want people to do, I'm going to shut up in a minute, I'm sorry. It's very moving, and I think this is it made a difference for me to see this. Think about the people here, and the people you might visit when you have a chance, do they have these stories to tell? Often they do not want to tell them. And think about, if you were in that position, what would you want to bring? And what we want to do, if you didn't bring a backpack, it's fine, okay? Think about what you would want to carry. One thing or two things that would help you survive that journey physically and emotionally. And just again, I have to give tremendous respect to the people here in our other detention centers. Tremendous respect to the people here who've gone through these experiences. I cannot imagine your lives, and I just, you're much stronger than I can. So, thank you. So, talk amongst yourselves, take a minute, share what you did.
Thank you, John, very much. So, picking up on what John just said,